It's a blessing to welcome on one of the top Division two prospects out there. He's obviously returning back home now, returning to Minnesota, his final years of eligibility. Parker Fox, how you doing, man?
I'm good. Appreciate you having me.
Absolutely, man. Well, kind of take us through how you're feeling. As I said, you're going back home now. You're playing Division one, the hometown big team in the state. What's going through your mind right now? How you feeling?
No, I'm excited. Like you said, this is my home. This is where, I want to be, and where I think I deserve to be. I worked really hard for this, and obviously Division two is a very high level basketball, and there's some studs, and we played against some studs, and it's still really good competition. But I've always had a dream of being a Division one basketball player, and now that it's here, it's a blessing, and I can't wait to throw that uniform on.
I read some stuff about you before, and you obviously growing up in Minnesota, you were cleaning the courts before. You always were kind of part of the team. That's like you said, that's kind of the hometown dream team you always loved. So now that you're gonna be putting that jersey on in this future, like you're gonna be one of those guys you always looked up to. How do you feel?
Yeah, I think it's surreal. It still hasn't really sunk in. I think it once I put that jersey on for the first time, it'll be tough to focus on actually playing the game, just because I'll have so many emotions of just seeing my last name on the back of that jersey. But like you said, yeah, I grew up. I lived 20 miles from campus. I grew up a fan of all the sports, and now that I'm actually here, and now that I get to have this M on my chest, it's an awesome feeling.
Well, I kind of want to go back to go fan and get to know you a little bit better. So let's head back. As we've been talking about already, though, you are from Minnesota. So just growing up out there, like what was it like?
Yeah, it was great. I'm from Mahtomedi, Minnesota. So it's a town about 20 minutes east of St. Paul, Minneapolis area. A small town of about right around a little less than 10,000 people. So it's kind of out of the hustle and bustle of the city, but still just a really good area to be. Um, I lived here my whole life, and I love this place, and I have a really good support system with my family and my friends, and I loved my high school time at Mahtomedi. I met, people that'll be a part of my life, forever. So to be able to come back and to kind of reunite with some of those friends and do that thing, it's really special. Like I said, I was in Aberdeen, South Dakota for 4 years, and I loved my time there, and I loved the relationships I built. But the fact that I get to come back and get back with some of these people that I grew up with, and they get to come see me play, in the Big Ten and play high major basketball is pretty awesome.
In terms of basketball now, I know basketball hasn't always been a huge spotlight there in Minnesota. It's really been your era is really like the first one to have a ton of talent. We see guys like Jalen Suggs, Chet Holmgren now coming in, but overall it's a lot of talent top to bottom. Guys that are playing Division one, playing in the NBA now, and that hasn't always been the case. So what's it kind of been like growing with this whole group of class, but this 4 or 5 year stretch now of guys that are really turning Minnesota basketball into having a bigger spotlight on them?
Yeah, I would argue with anybody that Minnesota high school basketball is can match up with any state out there. You see Paige Becker's doing it for the women, Jalen Suggs doing it for the guys, Chet Holmgren's going to do it. Guys like Gary Trent, Tyus Jones, Trey Jones, Daniel Churu. I mean, like I can go down the list of just high school studs that are now playing in the NBA, and I think that's the biggest thing about me coming home as well. It's having pride in your home university, and trying to get some of these guys to stay home. I think it's something we can take for granted sometimes is not wanting to go and try to see something else, or seeing if the grass is greener type of thing. But I want to try to convince some of these kids to stay home and be a part of this program here at university, and have pride of putting this maroon and gold M on your chest, and being a Gopher.
There's been a lot of guys that have decided not to go to Minnesota and play, decided to go out of the state. Originally, like we see some guys have decided. Train Thompson's obviously staying, coming back home from Lamar to play there next year. But some guys like Kendall Brown, obviously, is a star from out there. He decides to go out to Baylor or whatnot. A lot of people have been saying Minnesota hasn't been the best place in terms of university for basketball as the past few years. But there's a new coaching staff there. Like Coach Johnson's coming in. We'll talk about him a little bit later. But what's it going to take for you guys to really start getting these guys to stay home, hometown stars staying home, and really make Minnesota basketball a top team in the country?
Yeah, it just needs to be a focus. I don't, I would, I've always been a fan, and, I would never talk bad about, anybody. But I don't think it was the biggest focus before. And I think, that's why Ben Johnson got this job. is because he's a local Minnesota kid from De La Salle High School, played for the Gophers. He wants to see this program succeed, and he wants to see good things happen within this program. So they got a home run hire and Coach Nothing, and now it's just about continuing that. Everybody has their own journey, and you never want to hold anybody in a bubble and say Kendall has to go to Minnesota or something like that. I know Kendall personally, and I'm extremely excited for Kendall. He's going to do a really good job at Baylor. But that's the deal is if you can keep some of these kids home, and like I said, I think the talent is just as good as any other place in the country. So if you keep these kids home, we can build something really special and turn this thing into a powerhouse like it used to be.
If you were to put together a Minnesota team, like you're gonna put your starting five and maybe 4 or 5 bench pieces of guys from your era, so let's say like 2015, 2016 recruiting class to this past one, so 2021, who are like the best guys? Like who would you say would make that team of like the top Minnesota players?
Whew, that's a tough question. Um, I'd take McKinley right at my point guard. He had a phenomenal career at Colorado. I'd want Daniel Churu at my center position. Dan obviously went to the U and is now at the Clippers. I'd take a guy. I'd take Gary Trent. Obviously went to Duke and left Minnesota high school basketball to go prep school, but I still count him. He's a Minnesota boy. And then a kid like I would take Trey as well. Add Trey onto that list. And then I need a power forward. I need a four. I'd probably take a guy like Jericho Sims, who's at Texas, or somebody like a Nate Reavers at Wisconsin, or something like that. My class was loaded with those. Oh, Matt Hurt too. You got Matt Hurt at Duke. So like there's going down the list of naming those names. Those guys are going to be pros, and that just shows the level of Minnesota high school talent. You put that team together. I don't know who's beating those guys.
And then obviously you put some bench pieces like I said, you add in Jalen Suggs, you add in Chet Holmgren, you could add in yourself in there. Like Kendall Brown obviously is in that mix too. Obviously he's special as well. If you were to take that group, let's say those 8, 9 guys we just talked about, how would you guys stack up against the Californias, the Texas, the Georgias, the New Jersey, like all the states? Where's Minnesota going to rank up in that game?
Yeah, no, like I said earlier, I think there's no reason why they're not at the top. My 17 year of AAU, Pulley, went to the finals of the Peach Jam or the semifinals. D1s played in like the championship game. So there's just studs everywhere. I was ranked in like the mid 20s or something. Not that rankings matter or nothing, but there's just studs. And obviously there's some bigger states and people that have more kids and but I think the way we kind of see it going, there's dudes here, and that's why it's so exciting to try to keep these dudes here and be a part of this M right here. So yeah.
Absolutely. Let's get into your high school career because you go out there and you put together a pretty solid career, really more towards your upperclassmen years. You really emerge as a star in the state, but kind of walk us through that freshman year. You originally stay out there, you go to school for 4 years. Kind of walk us through that. Like, why did you choose originally to go to Mahtomedi?
Yeah. So in high school, it's where I was from and where I was raised, and I was a late bloomer. My freshman year, I was 5'8", 120 pounds. I was small. I wasn't strong. I had some basketball skills, but I had no business playing any varsity basketball. I transitioned my sophomore year, grew a little bit, but still didn't really have any, business physically being there. And then I kind of hit a growth spurt and was able to grow and, averaged, 23, 4, whatever that is, junior year. And just really falling in love with the process of the grind. I think that's the thing for a lot of kids that is hard to do. It's hard to fall in love with the hurt and how hard it can be. But I did that, and like I said, it was late bloomer. I had to go to Division II, type of thing. And I regret saying the word had because I loved my time there, and I think the Division II level is extremely high. You look at a team like Northwest Missouri State this year, who won the championship, who we lost to in the Sweet 16. There's no reason why my team or that team, can't beat a handful of, Division I, high major Division I programs. You see it every year. D2s, they only lost to Duke by like 6 2 years ago. So it's a high level. But high school was fun, and it's my home, and it's a special place. And Mahtomedi I will always have my heart. So.
I can imagine that when you start developing yourself a little more and you don't get all the offers you probably want at the time, you weren't getting the spotlight you probably wanted. Were you ever open to looking at maybe going to a bigger school, going to a school that had more of a spotlight on them, rather it be in-state, or even just like Gary Trent did, where he goes out of state, goes to prep school? We know there's a couple of those now forming. Is that something you ever considered, or are you always locked into staying home for 4 years?
I think I was pretty locked in. My sophomore year, not being able to play, you got a little upset, and you think about, going to maybe a school in the cities, like a prep school or a bigger school in the cities. But at the end of the day, I wanted to stay home and do what I started, and build that up and be a part of your hometown and having pride in that.
So if I were to ask you, going back when you first are coming into high school as a freshman, well under 6 foot, would you imagine going and being a guy that even plays Division II level and ultimately of even becoming a guy that goes to Minnesota, becomes a Division I player? Like, was that ever something that would have crossed your mind?
Yeah, it was a dream. I think having dreams is important and having goals is important. Trying to reach those goals and to put your head down and work. Obviously it wasn't in the writing books. It wasn't available right away when I came out of high school. But I wanted to do it and I wanted to be a part of it and I want to play March Madness and I want to be a part of, playing for a Division I program. So I just put my head down and worked. I think that's all it really is. Like you can really accomplish anything, you set your mind to as long as put the work in and it's gonna be hard and there's gonna be days where it doesn't feel worth it. Um, but when you're able to call, your hometown and say I'm coming home and I want to be a part of this program, it makes it all worth it.
So when you were going through your junior and senior year and you obviously weren't getting all the offers you wanted, was that down? Were you kind of getting down on yourself at any point? Were you ever considering like, when is this ever going to pan out? Is this ever going to happen? Like, what was going through your mind your junior and senior year as you're getting closer and closer to committing, especially when you're seeing a lot of guys also commit at the same time?
Yeah, I think there's two ways you can take it. You can say, "Hey, I'm not good enough. I'm going to give up. Let me try something new." Or, "Hey, I love this. I want to continue to work and see what happens." I fortunately got one offer, had one scholarship offer and took it and I'm here now. But so what I would say to kids is, if you love it and you truly love it and you want to, be great at what you do, you can be, as long as you put that work in it and you know, truly like lock in on it. Because there can be days where it's like, hey, I don't want to go to the gym today, or hey, I don't want to go away. Or you have to. Like you're lying to yourself if you don't put your whole heart into it. And just do it with your all. So yeah, it's discouraging, and any kids that are going through that process and it's not happening, just keep your head up and keep working because anything's possible as long as you work.
So you end up going and make all commerce selection, and you guys go 21-7. You guys have a great year, your junior year, 24-4, your senior year. Then, what are those 2 years like? Kind of walk us through those years of really, obviously, like I said, kind of emerging on the spotlight, getting a lot more attention, but also just being successful as a team.
Yeah, we had a brotherhood of guys on my high school team. We all basically lived in Mahtomedi our whole life. We were all best friends. We all played youth basketball together. That's the beauty of your question earlier about leaving and going somewhere new. I think that was the beauty of Mahtomedi and forming that relationship with guys that are so happy to see me coming back and putting this M on, and it was fun. And we had some good players on our team as well. Some of the guys, and we obviously had a lot of success with multiple 20-win seasons. But it was just fun to be a part of something with a group of guys that cared more about winning as a team than they did about individual success.
When you look back at all the teams, all the guys you went up against while playing in state, who would you say is probably some of your favorite guys? Like, was there even one guy maybe specifically that you'd say, okay, when you matched up, you were circling that guy on your calendar, you were excited to go match up against him?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say that's Jordan Horn. Jordan Horn is he's from Tartan High School, played at Siena, then went to NDSU, and now is at University of Texas Permian Basin. They're kind of our rivals. Tartan High School is our rivals, so me and Jordan have a really good relationship now, and we're friends. And um, I'd say the toughest dude I played against was Gary. I played a game against Gary, and I couldn't figure out how to guard that dude. He was so talented and so strong. And I think he gave us like 35 or 40. But he was a stud, yeah.
You see Gary, like I said, and you kind of talk about this a little bit, but when you see these guys go to the college level, now for Gary, you obviously go tune into NBA games, you see him dropping 30 again on the NBA level too. You kind of see all these guys succeeding, living up the same dream you are. What's it like watching that and kind of seeing these guys succeed?
Oh, I mean, I think it makes me proud. It's like to know these guys, and I think relationships are a huge deal, and being able to build relationships with people. And Minnesota has kind of a close knit basketball community. The city isn't too big. Minneapolis, St. Paul is it's obviously big, but it's not too big where it's like a super long driving distance. So a lot of the times when we have open runs in the summer, it's the elites of the elites coming together and working out, and you got NBA talent, high major, Division I talent in that gym, and we all want each other to succeed. We have a big group chat. It's just Minnesota Hoopers group chat. You got millions and millions of dollars of paychecks in that group chat, and guys that want other people to win and have success, and have success in the game at the highest level. So I think it's Minnesota's cool in that aspect where it's not super massive that you don't like you don't not know people, but like
Mhm.
people come together and like want to see each other succeed. You see, love on social media. Guys giving other Minnesota guys love, and Jalen hits that shot at the buzzer, and I'm texting him after the game, like just showing him love. Tweeting at him, like that's just real love that we care about. Guys, and we want to see them succeed because we're proud of them being from Minnesota. Minnesota has that sense of pride.
You mentioned something interesting. You just said the Minnesota basketball group chat. Take us to that a little bit. Like, how many guys are in that? I mean, obviously, it can't just be everyone that plays basketball out there, but how many guys are in that, and what does it take to make that group chat?
Yeah, I think it's I would say it's probably like maybe 30 guys in that group chat or something like that, within a 10-year span of different people. And a lot of the times we just send in there like, hey, the run is, at this location today at this time. And usually we get two courts going, and we'll have a king of the court, maybe three courts if we got enough guys. And it's not like, this isn't like anybody pulling up. This is like, you got really, really good players. Like you got to earn your way there. And it's a funny group chat because these guys are good dudes too, and there's good camaraderie within all of that. But a guy like Jordan Taylor kind of runs that thing. Minnesota Mr. Basketball in 2013, played at University of Wisconsin, so he kind of started getting that thing going and running. And he's got all of us in a group chat, and it'll be, hey, we're playing here at this time, you better make it. So and nobody misses it because they know how good those runs are, and they know how talented and how much they can help your game.
What's the most memorable run you guys have had before? Like you said, we just talked about all these names that have come from Minnesota. What's the most memorable one with you, and who's some of the guys involved in that game?
Yeah, we had Ball's Life pull up to a run one time and make some mixes for us. So I would probably say that one. But they're consistent. Like
Mhm.
basically 3 or 4 times a week, it's like the same consistent guys and they're studs. And you got like Tyus will pull up to the runs. He still lives in Minnesota during the summer, so Tyus will pull up. Guys like Cole Aldridge. Back in his
Mhm.
Kansas days. And now he still pulls up to the runs. And Jake Layman for the Timberwolves, Karl Anthony Towns,
Mhm.
all these guys will come and pull up to the runs because it's good basketball, and you got good players playing in it. So I could go down the list of names, and some of those guys might not be in the group chat, but they'll reach out and like ask somebody for runs and be like, hey, this is where the runs are at today. Like this is legit. Come there, and it's really good basketball. And even if you're not, playing in the runs, and you're sitting out, you're watching because it's like these dudes are studs, and like it's so fun to just watch them play basketball.
So have you ever had to go up against Cat yet?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, he came through for a run one time, and he's just so skilled the way he can handle the ball and stretch it out to three, and then has a quick step, and then his post moves are good. Like there's a reason why he's one of the best young guys in the league, and I mean like, he's getting a little older now, but he's a stud, and it was just one time, and thankfully he's not coming back because he dominated us. So.
Absolutely, man. Let's go into this college recruiting process because, as I said, you weren't obviously a guy that was going Division I. You took the Division II route, and I don't think you're too many offers there too. I mean, obviously, you choosing the decision to go to Northern State, South Dakota, is where you're living. Walk us through that process. Like, what led you to that school? Why is that the school you chose?
Yeah, it was my only Division II offer. I probably could have been patient and maybe got another one or something like that, or took a low or mid major D1 walk on. But I went up and visited there, and I realized it was home, and I would never regret it. I won 107 games in 4 years. I won 11 NCAA tournament games. I played in a national championship. I played in two Sweet 16s. You know, it was a crazy process of success and tradition and excellence. And I played with some phenomenal teammates that had a lot of success, and several that are enjoying their pro careers overseas. So I'm super proud of that university, and I'm super grateful that I got the chance to play there, and I'll always be a part of that university.
And that's what's shocking because, like I said, now you are a guy that wasn't just going to Division One. It's not like you're going to low major. Nothing against low majors, but you are the guy that was having a list of Creighton involved, Dayton, Florida State, Minnesota, Ohio. I mean, you had every school pretty much in the country really looking at you to some capacity. How was that journey? Like when you look back at that now and you say, okay, I came out of high school 4 years ago and I only had one Division two school that wanted me. Now I've got pretty much all the Division one schools wanting me. What's like just looking back at that journey and seeing how crazy that is?
Yeah, I think it's cool. Like I said earlier, it was something that I always wanted to have, but I just wasn't good enough yet. And that's a test you can accomplish it as long as you work. So I go down the line with just basketball legends recruiting you. It was a crazy process that I realized it was really fun and I tried to enjoy it.
Would you say the reason you weren't getting as many offers earlier on was that just because you weren't as good yet, or was that because you didn't have the spotlight on you? Like, why do you think it was that it took so long for you to finally get the attention that you deserve?
Yeah, I think I still had a good level of skill and had a good skill set, and
Mhm.
obviously Division II basketball is really talented, and there's some really good players in the Division II. But I just got a lot better. I had 4 years to just work on transforming my body. I gained 40 pounds of muscle. I just gained a lot of skill. I shot the ball better. I learned how to handle the ball better. I got stronger so I could jump higher. So now that I'm, being able to do that, I'm ready for that next level.
You have a coach in Coach Phillips, who obviously was a guy that helped you develop with his career now. Walk us to that bond, because spending that much time with the coach obviously has to improve your relationship a lot. Like, what was his impact in your life, and how do you help you really become the guy you are today?
Yeah, I would say Coach Phillips allowed me to just fall in love with basketball.
Hmm.
Um, Coach Phillips is a guy that he's unique. He's not like a lot of other coaches, and he doesn't really yell that super loud at you during things, or get on you super hard in a practice or a game. Like he holds you accountable because he knows that you want to be great. He knows how much I wanted to be great. So he held me accountable to that. And then when I fell short of that, he would let me know like, hey, you're not good enough right now. But as long as I was able to, just work hard and hold myself accountable to the grind and the success, he was there to support that. So I love that dude, and we'll have a phenomenal relationship for the rest of our lives.
So your freshman year out there, you're obviously redshirt that year. You take a break to obviously just develop yourself, get better. How impactful was that for you in terms of your development going forward?
Oh, it was vital. I was behind two studs. Carter Evans is 6'10", 250, and Logan 6'9", 240, 235. Just studs. I probably would have been able to find a way to get in, the game and play some minutes, but maintaining my eligibility and just developing my body and my game was the biggest thing. I think at the end of the day, developing my body was probably the biggest. Putting weight on, getting in the weight room extra, just taking time to get ready for the speed of college basketball. I think a lot of kids can struggle coming out of high school, thinking that they
Hmm.
know what the college game is going to be like, but it's so much more different. You can't take plays off. You can't it's just a different beast. No matter what level you're at, Division II, Division III, NAI, it's a level up from high school in terms of just the intensity and the speed of the game. So I was able to learn that, and then that really allowed me to excel the next 3 years because I was comfortable and familiar, what was going to happen. And that also helped with my decision now. I have an extra year to play at the University of Minnesota, so.
Yep. So then your sophomore year, you end up going out there and playing your very first year of college basketball. What was that year like?
Yeah, it was great. We had a really, really good team, led by some really good seniors. Senior Ian Smith, who is now playing overseas in London. We were good. We won the conference again. We won the North part of the conference, won the whole conference, won the tournament. And then we unfortunately lost in the first round in an overtime game to, I think it was Southeast Oklahoma State. And that was a hard one to lose. And credit to those guys, they were a good team. But that year was really fun. It was my first year of, being able to play college basketball. And it was my first year to like, actually be out there and like be a part of it. And I think I just had a lot of fun, obviously didn't play the minutes I did or have the efficiency of scoring. I think I was playing like 19, 20 minutes a game, scoring like 11 points or something like that. So not crazy numbers, but I just enjoyed being out there and being part of a successful team that, made the tournament.
And when you're talking about going against those guys and your first years not playing, like you said, you guys are a tournament team, a lot of talent out there. What were those practices like? Because you've been the young guy in there, kind of learning the game of college still. What was this practice like? Were there any embarrassing, funny moments you have about just kind of getting used to playing with this type of guys?
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's sometimes you get lost and how hard it can be and the grind of it and like
Mhm.
but at the end of the day you're playing basketball and you're doing what you've always done and what you love to do. So everybody messes up, makes mistakes, and things are going to be embarrassing, and then your teammates should let you have it. They should make jokes, and it's funny, and you move on. But I wouldn't say I have an exact embarrassing moment, but just like failure is good, but it's how you fail. If you fail backwards and take a step backwards, you're not going to help yourself. You have to be able to fail forward, and learn from your mistakes and get better from them.
You become a guy that develops more and more throughout your career in multiple aspects, but probably the biggest one is your 3-point percentage. You obviously become a great shooter as well as using your athleticism, which you've had for a while. But how have you learned to really incorporate become such an all-around player?
Yeah, I think it was just my focus. Every single workout, I wasn't just doing dunks or doing post moves. I was shooting 1,000 shots. I was working on ball handling. I was doing all facets of the game. I think that's important for young kids to hear is obviously there's things that if you're able to do you can play, such as being able to shoot the ball or play defense, but it's only going to take you so far. If you're able to develop every single facet of your game, and you're able to do it at a high level, by putting the work in, you're going to be able to see the floor, and you're going to be able to see success come when you're on the floor.
And you being a guy that now develops more and more throughout your career too, and you now average your final year then 22 points, you had 10 rebounds, averaging 3.5, almost 4 blocks per game. You're named MVP, you're named Defensive Player of the Year. Like, all this comes in a form, but as we talked about earlier, you weren't a guy that obviously that came in with a lot of offers. Then you obviously take a redshirt year off the bench your first few games and obviously your first season. Was there any point during your college career that you started getting down on yourself, starting questioning anything? Were there challenging parts mentally for you at any point?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I think that's the beast that college basketball can be. Um, I relied on my teammate Ian Smith a lot. There was days where I wouldn't have quit, but there was days where I was to the point of like, why is this worth it anymore? I'm not going to play. My mind was wrapped around the fact, oh, I'm just going to play a couple more years of Division II and then I'm going to be done. Have to get a job. And Ian really helped me like focus on, that's not what's going to happen. And then I understood it and put my head down and worked. And now, I'm extremely grateful for it because now I get to play high major Big Ten Division I basketball with a chance to be a professional basketball player, at extremely high level. So, obviously I'm grateful that I continued, work, but I got to continue to work to get even better. So,
At what point did it click for you? Like, when did you start saying, okay, wow, I'm actually this guy that can play at an elite level Division II, and I might actually have a chance of playing Division I at a high level too?
yeah, so I think I realized it a couple times in my first, 2 years, but once my third year, my redshirt sophomore year rolled around, and we went to our first, invitational down in Oklahoma. I had some success, and I was like, okay, it makes me hungry. I think people can take it and be like, hey, I'm good right now. That's good, but for me, it was let's get even better.
Mm-hmm. So let's go into this final year for you. Obviously, I said you have 22 points, 10 rebounds, get the double double per average, almost 4 blocks per game, Defensive Player of the Year, MVP, All American. What was this past year like?
It was awesome. The COVID-19 pandemic really put a hindrance in things we could do off the court, just in terms of not being able to live the normal college life. You had to stay at home and wear masks and social distance, and that can be hard for people when you don't love this sport and when you don't see the final outcome, and that can be really hard if you're a part of a team that's not having success, and you're a team that's losing. But for us, we were 19-2, and we were having success and winning, so it makes it easier to wear that mask and social distance, and respect your COVID tests. And it was obviously super hard mentally, but physically it was a blast. We were able to go out there and practice every single day, and we had a phenomenal team. So every day in practice was a battle, just because we felt that going against the guys, at the end of our roster were just as good as, the other guys we were playing. We have a phenomenal team. Um, and there's days of practice where it was, just as tough to score as it was in a game. So that's a credit to our teammates and the success and the talent we have at Northern. But it was a great year, and it didn't end exactly the way we wanted it to end, but it was really fun, and I'll have those memories for a long time.
You look back at your entire Division two career, what would you say would be your favorite game? Or even if there's a couple of games you say are kind of a tie, like what would be your favorite game you played in through your D2 career?
Yeah, I would say my last game.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, we lost. But that's what motivates me. That's having that loss. That's why it's my favorite, because I know it's going to be my motivator for my next few years. Um, but no, that was a phenomenal game. It was during a global pandemic, but we allowed some fans in the stadium in our facility, and we I think we had like 2,000 fans there, and they were just super loud. It felt like there was 10,000 in there. We played the team that won the national championship, and then, obviously we lost, which stunk. But I was able to, play a pretty good game and have some individual success in that game. And just the way our team came together as a group, just to battle, was super fun. So it was one of the few games where I felt like really tired. Like this game, I my adrenaline was so high. I felt like I could, run through a wall. So I would say that was, my favorite game.
Absolutely. Well, before we get into the whole college process, recruiting, and obviously going to Minnesota, I have to ask you about one aspect, and that is your hair. We know you haven't always had the longer hair before. You kind of grown that out during your past few years. Walk us through your hair, though.
That's great. No, yeah, I was all short hair kid. I always had it, either buzzed or super short coming up. And when the pandemic hit, people would think it was my hair was getting longer, and the barbershops and stuff was closed. So I was like, oh, I'll grow it out for a little bit. And then everything started to open back up, and I was kind of like developing this flow. And I was like, oh, I'm going to keep it for a little bit and see what happens. And my whole intention was to cut it before the basketball season started. And then I didn't the first weekend, and we won our first game. And I was like, okay, I got to keep it the whole season now. So I literally just kept my hair, and it just grew out all year, because I was like, I'm not cutting it until we lose. And then we didn't lose until the last weekend of the regular season. And at that point, I was like, oh, I'm not cutting it yet. So I don't know what's in the works for it. I think it adds to my kind of style and my flair, with my intensity and my effort. So I might keep it for a little bit longer, but I think my parents are kind of against that. They want to see it gone, but we'll see what happens.
And because that is something we do know. Obviously, you're going to have a lot bigger market now playing at Division One, a high major like Minnesota. And for whatever reason, fans seem to be attracted to hair and it becomes a trend. So if there's kind of any kind of hair or something, fans start selling a lot about that. We know you're going to get a lot of stuff, but do you think there's a chance that you could be playing at Minnesota with that?
Yeah, there definitely could be. You see Drew Timmy this year
Mhm.
at Gonzaga with the mustache and going like that,
Yep.
and it just adds flair. It's personality. I think it's fun because it shows you that these guys aren't just athletes. We're not just basketball players. We're not just we're human beings. And we're more than just the basketball. We're more than just guys that know how to dunk. And maybe it's a mustache, or maybe it's some different look, but we're human, and we like to have fun with our lives, and do our own thing outside of basketball as well. So that was fun to see Drew,
Mhm.
rocking that handlebar mustache this year, and playing the national championship game and going like that. Like, that's cool stuff. I love the emotion, and the aspect of they're more than just basketball players.
You did say that your parents might not be too big fans of that. What kind of gives you that direction? Like, were they shocked when they first saw you with the long hair? That would they say something like, what makes you think they may not like it?
Yeah, my mom always just kind of brings up like, "Hey, got to do for a hair appointment," or like, "Hey, getting a haircut today," or some little jabs or jokes at me. But no, my parents are my biggest supporters, and
Mhm.
whether it's hair or my career, they want what's best for me. So yeah, I love those guys.
Absolutely. Well, you hop into this season and you decide, all right, let's go to the transfer portal. I think it's time to make that big jump for myself now. And as I said, you get schools from all over the country, all different levels. What led to that group though? Because then you narrowed down to top eight, but walk us through the whole process. What I was like getting those phone calls, like just take us through the whole life in the transfer portal.
Yeah, it's crazy. I entered the portal about a week or less than a week after the season ended, and I spent basically every day for 5 or 6 hours a day on the phone talking to schools and cutting my list down. And I heard from about 100 different programs. I heard from probably 50 to 60 Division I programs, and then a bunch of Division II's programs as well. You know, I like I said, I cut it down to my eight because it became too much. It became too overwhelming, and too much was going on. So I needed to cut it down and really just know that, like, hey, I need to make a decision here, and I need to lock in and find out where I want to go to school. But then that going through that process and just building a relationship with Coach Ben Johnson and his staff, and realizing that I trust them and I trust their plan for me and this program. And I'm so glad I chose to be a Gopher.
You mentioned a couple big name coaches that reached out to you, but was there one coach that kind of reached out to you and when you picked up the phone, they introduced himself that you're like, wow, I'm gonna call from this guy. Like something that kind of shocked you when you first picked up that phone.
I would say Rick Pitino was a really cool one. He called me pretty early in the process, so it was cool to, like, I got a call from a random number, and he was like, "Hey, this is Rick Pitino," and it's like, this guy wins multiple national championships. Just everybody knows who he is. Like, they talk about him on ESPN, like all this stuff, and like,
Mm-hmm.
um, so it was cool to, like, know that, like, these guys know who I am. Like, I would have never thought that, like, a guy like Rick Pitino or a guy like Ewing or a guy like Jerry Stackhouse or somebody like that would have my number in their phone or would know who I was. So it's humbling, and it's really cool to see that, and it's a testament to my hard work and who I've developed myself to be as a player, but more importantly as a person.
When you first put your name in that portal, did you think you're gonna get all this attention? Like, did you think you're gonna get 100 schools and 60 of those be Division I? Did you think they're gonna be at the same level these schools are? Like, what were your original expectations when you put your name in the portal?
Yeah, I had high hopes, but I didn't think it was gonna be like this. I didn't think it was gonna be this crazy of a process of being. I think I was ranked as some like the 98th best transfer out of, like, 1,400 or something like that. I didn't expect that. To be honest with you, I expected to have some Division I interest and see what the plan was. But these coaches liked the way I played with my athleticism and my versatility and my heart and my passion, and the interest was awesome. And I'm forever grateful that each and every one of these coaches took time out of their day to get to know me and my family.
So you bring it down to those top eight, then Minnesota is the school. What separated them? Well, because Coach Ben Johnson comes in, obviously new coach. He doesn't really have too much history as a head coach yet, but how was he able to sell you on this? Like, what was his pitch to you, and how did he ultimately land you over all of those schools that are offering you?
Yeah, just being home and building something special. Having pride in the university you grew up loving, and wanting to, carve your name into the history books of, hey, this was the group that brought Minnesota basketball back to where it needs to be,
Mhm.
and being part of that program. And the goal is to be, it's obviously never a rebuild or a reboot. There's obviously been, really successful teams in the past couple of years. A team that won a NCAA tournament game 2 years ago. So obviously there's been success without a doubt. But to get this thing, like, to the top of the top, that's where we want to be. And just trusting that. I think that you can listen and be like, yeah, that sounds cool, but building a relationship and being able to trust Coach Johnson and his plan is huge. So that's why it took me a month and a half or whatever it took me. It was um, just building the relationship, talking to him every day, and trusting what he had planned for me and the program.
You weren't the only guy that's obviously the new player there because this whole team is going to look a lot different. We know there's a couple guys returning, but for the most part, it's going to be practically everyone's brand new. Some guys so far we obviously see Sean's coming over, which we'll talk about in a second. You guys have some past relationships too, but Jameson's coming in. I'm very high on him. Luke's a great player. EJ Payne's the most recent guy to come in. Also, you guys have the incoming freshman. But out of this group that's so far coming together, like what you're seeing so far on this roster, it's official. How excited are you for this group?
Oh, so excited. Every single one of these dudes got heart. They got a chip on their shoulder and they got passion for the game and they want to win. And they've had success. You look at the whole roster is, whether it's a mid-major or for me a Division II, they've had success at their level and they've proven that they're good enough to play here at the University of Minnesota. So I think every single one of the guys, wants to come in and with a chip on their shoulder and wants to be a part of building this thing to where it needs to be. You go down the line with every single guy. It's tough dudes that have won and have developed, legitimacy in their game and their skill and their craft. So just getting together as a group, and it might take a little bit. It might take some time. It might take a couple games to build it up and get into it. But I think this group can be special.
As I said, there is not a completely new person you get to know, though. There's one guy that pretty solid so far. You've grown up with him and played with him on many, many occasions, and that is Sean. Walk us through your bond and how you guys really talked about teaming up together. Did that come into play once you guys both commit? Were you guys talking before you guys committed about coming here? Like, walk us through this, how you guys kind of became reunited.
Yeah, so Sean was a 17U teammate of mine, a good buddy of mine, and we stayed in touch for the last 4 years. Coach Johnson was recruiting me, and he asked me about he's like, this kid named Sean Sutherland. I was like, yeah, that's my guy. Like, you need to go after him. He's a beast. He's a hard worker. He wants to be a Gopher. He's one of my good buddies, and he committed before I did. So I was kind of recruiting Ben to recruit him, and then he committed, and then he was recruiting me to commit to Ben. So it's kind of funny how that kind of circles around. But we're here now, and me and Sean are excited to we're gonna live together. We're gonna be teammates and all that kind of stuff, and we're excited for that journey.
Have you got to talk to any of the other guys? Yeah, like I said, Jameson, Luke, EJ, Payne. Like, have you got to talk to those guys yet?
Yeah. So I talked to JMO a lot. JMO's a Minnesota kid, Jameson Battle, and he's a stud.
Mm-hmm.
Shoots the ball at a higher clip than I've seen. He's a beast. And then I got introduced to EJ and Luke through the coaches, and just kind of starting to form and build a relationship with those guys. Just really cool guys. Obviously studs at their respective universities. And then Peyton obviously played at the U, so I knew who he was, and I reached out to him the other day when he committed, and we talked about just getting to work. And then the last one's Trayton. I don't know much about Trayton, because he was a out of the cities kids.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know as much about the kids that cities. Used from Alexandria, but went to La Lumiere. Obviously has a huge upside, so I'm excited to get to know him and bring him along in this journey. But a lot of upperclassmen and a lot of seniors and graduate students that are going to come together and have success. And then you add a guy like Trayton and some other freshmen that going to bring along, and if they're able to focus and learn, they're gonna learn a lot about what it takes to be a successful college basketball player.
So there still are a lot of spots to fill. We talked about probably the biggest goal. The dream scenario would be obviously getting Chet to come home. We know what he automatically makes you guys probably a contender. But besides Chet, though, who else are the other guys you're targeting? Who else do you know of guys you'd like to bring along with you? Like, who else are some guys we should look for that could possibly become Gophers in the future?
Yeah, I think you look at the guys that we got, and just continue to get more guys like that, chip on their shoulders, kind of guys that
Mm-hmm.
want to come together and build a group. I know one of the names is a kid like Philip Rabachka at the University of North Dakota. A bigger kid that's had a lot of success at a low mid late major basketball program, come into a high major and continue that success. But like Coach says, Coach wants guys that work. Coach wants basketball junkies, and Coach wants guys that are going to want to win and have a chip on their shoulder and know what it's like to play the game with college experience. Experience is huge in the March, and teams that have experience win.
So when you talk about coach, obviously the main goal is to win a championship. That's anyone's goal heading into the year. But obviously it's kind of steps too. I mean, that could obviously happen, not saying that at all, but obviously steps to become a contender eventually, become that team that's constantly going as a top five team year in, year out. But for this year right now, like, what's the goal as a team? Like, what do you think you guys can accomplish? What can fans expect from the team if you guys really get done this year?
Yeah, they can expect success. Nothing less. There's a reason why we're forming an older group of guys and a group of guys that have had success and have had individual and team success. So we get a couple more pieces and we put this thing together, and that's going to be the toughest part. But the kind of guys that we got, we're willing to work and be the best version of ourselves individually, but as a team, more importantly.
Without doubt. Well, a few more things before I let you go. One of which is discussing yourself personally. Like when you're talking about what you're going to bring to this team, walk us through that a little bit because you obviously we talked about you can shoot, you can bring a lot of stuff there. Probably the biggest thing is you are an energetic guy. You're going to bring a lot of energy, hype up the team, hype up the fans. But give us like the fans, like what are you going to bring to Minnesota?
Yeah, I love the game. I love the process of the game, and I love all the little nuances of the game. So I fans can expect me to just play as hard as I can for every single minute I'm on the court. Play with high energy, play with high passion, wear my emotions on my sleeve. Throw a big dunk down and get the crowd going, and then just use my versatility. I'm quick enough where I can switch a ball screen, use my length. I can jump high enough where I can block a shot at the rim. I'm fast enough where I can get a rebound and get on a transition. So I have those aspects of my game that I can do some special things, and then using my skill in the half court. My turn and face game in the post. Being able to stretch it out to three. On my jab rip series, my finishing at the rim was in the 98th percentile of guys last year. So just being able to just continue to be who I am and having that success at the next step is what I'm looking forward to.
Is there one word you could use to describe it? If there's one word that kind of describes everything about Parker Fox, both on and off the court, what would that word be?
I would say passion. I think I know I love the game of basketball, and I know it's what I want to do for as long as I can do. So passion or the word passionate would be the way I would describe my basketball game.
Absolutely, man. And I was like wrapping discussing your legacy because I know it's something that all guys want to do. So when you are done playing basketball someday, what do you want to be remembered for what you achieve both on and off the court?
Yeah, I think my biggest thing is just playing hard. Being a part of something special is only special if you're able to play as hard as you can. For myself, Colossians 3:23 says, "Whatever you do, work heartily for the Lord, not for men." Work heartily to me means just working as hard as you can. Obviously for yourself and for your program, but for your God and for for a bigger purpose. So obviously awards are great, championships are great, and I want to be a part of all those kind of things. But I just want to know that I gave it my all, and was just able to play to the best of my ability. And one day the ball's going to stop bouncing and my time's going to be done. But when that time's done, I want to look back at my career and say I gave it my all, and that's all I have left. I have nothing left in the tank. I don't want to have any gas left in the tank.
I'm glad you brought that up because discussing faith a little bit, obviously being a believer, kind of talk about God a little bit. Like, how has He helped get you to the point you're at today?
Yeah, my faith journey has been special. It's
Mhm.
something I've relied on when you're down low and when things aren't going great. There's always a bigger light and there's always a bigger purpose, and everything has a plan, and God has a plan for your life and your career. And obviously everybody's journey is different, and my journey was different. I went Division 2, and now I'm going to a high major Division 1 school. So just trusting in His plan for you is you're right where you're supposed to be. I talked to Coach Johnson about, I'm right where I'm supposed to be. Division 2 was right where I was supposed to be. And now Division 1, high major, Big Ten basketball, Minnesota. Like this is where I'm supposed to be now. And God put me here for a reason. And I can't wait to work not only for myself, but for Him.
Would you say there's like one moment specifically in life that you'd say was kind of a turning point in your faith there? I know for a lot of people that is always that time you kind of really build that bond with God personally, like one on one with Him. Like when would you say that time kind of was for you?
Yeah, I would say like my eighth or ninth grade of middle school, high school, just realizing that life is so much bigger than me. And, at the end of the day, basketball is just a game. Um, and it's something fun to do, but we get to, glorify, our talents and glorify our God, and playing the sport. So just realizing that, there's so many things and so many different, areas of life that can seem so hard and, seem so complicated. But at the end of the day, it's all that matters is your relationship with Him and, striving to be the best version of yourself to glorify Him.
Amen, man. My final thing for you, give Minnesota fans your three biggest goals you have set for your Minnesota career.
Yeah, I want to be a guy that you're proud to watch. So my first thing would be, obviously winning is huge. Being able to win games and win games in March Madness, and obviously a national championship's a goal. It should be everybody's goal. You're selling yourself short if it's not your goal.
Yep.
So obviously that's a goal, and I think another would be, fans are proud and they want to come watch me play. They're proud of who I am on the court, the way I carry myself off the court, and they're proud to be able to say he's a Gopher. We're proud of him. And then lastly, one of my goals would be to just develop relationships with my teammates, with the community, with fans. I'm a person that volunteers. I'm a person that goes to church. I'm a person that is out about in the community. So obviously basketball is important. And I have basketball goals, but my last goal would be to be a good member of the community and somebody that people are like, hey, he's a good person, and he's somebody that we're proud to say is a part of the community of and the city of Minneapolis.
Absolutely, man. Well, congratulations on the big move, man. I'm excited to see what God got next for you, and appreciate you taking time to come on today.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I appreciate your time, and rah rah rah, go Gophers.
Absolutely, man. God bless.
God bless. We'll see you.